The moon hung low and heavy in the sky, a massive eye watching the dark woods below. In the deep shadows of the ancient pines, the sound of heavy breathing broke the silence. Mia ran, her heart drumming against her ribs like a trapped bird. Behind her, the snapping of dry branches and the low, guttural growl of a predator grew louder. She could smell the musk of wet fur and the cold scent of death. A massive shadow leaped over a fallen log, landing just inches from her heels. Bright, amber eyes locked onto hers, glowing with an unnatural hunger. Just as the beast coiled its muscles to spring, a second howl ripped through the air, not a hunt, but a command. The beast froze, and Mia felt the cold breath of the forest close around her. Welcome to the story. I pour my heart and soul into these narratives, spending countless hours crafting worlds for you to get lost in, yet many of you watch and leave without a word. If this story touches you, please do not walk away in silence. Like this video and subscribe to show you value the effort behind the art. Tell us in the comments where in the world you are watching from, and please, rate this story from 1 to 10 so I know if I have met your expectations. Your support is the only thing that keeps these stories alive. The village of Oakhaven sat on the edge of the Blackwood Forest, a place where the trees grew so thick that sunlight rarely touched the mossy ground. For generations, the villagers lived by one rule: never enter the woods after the sun dips below the horizon. Mia had heard the stories since she was a child. Her grandmother spoke of men who shifted into monsters, of a bloodline cursed by the moon, and of Alpha Philip, the ruthless leader of the pack that claimed the forest as their own. Mia was not like the other villagers. She was a healer, a young woman who found peace in the herbs and roots that grew in the damp earth. She was kind and gentle, but she possessed a bravery that many mistook for foolishness. While others trembled at the sound of a distant howl, Mia listened to the rhythm of the woods. One humid afternoon, Mia ventured deeper into the forest than she ever had before. She was looking for a rare silverleaf fern to help her neighbor's failing lungs. The air grew cold, and the birds went silent. She should have turned back, but she saw the glint of the fern near a jagged rock formation. As she reached for it, she heard a sound that chilled her blood. It was a moan of intense pain. Ignoring the voice in her head telling her to run, Mia pushed through a thicket of thorns. There, lying in a pool of dark blood, was a man. He was tall, with broad shoulders and dark, messy hair. His clothes were torn, and a deep, jagged wound ran across his chest. Mia gasped and knelt beside him. "Stay back," the man hissed, his voice like grinding stones. His eyes snapped open. They were not brown or blue, they were a piercing, electric amber. "You are hurt," Mia said, her voice steady despite the trembling in her hands. "I am a healer. If I do not stop this bleeding, you will die." The man stared at her. He seemed confused by her lack of fear. Most humans would have screamed. Most would have fled. "Do you know what I am, girl?" "I know you are bleeding," Mia replied. She pulled a clean cloth from her bag and pressed it firmly against his chest. The man groaned, his muscles tensing under her touch. This was Kyle. He was a scout for the Blackwood Pack, a warrior known for his speed and loyalty. He had been ambushed by a rival group of rogues near the border. He expected to die alone in the dirt, but instead, he was looking into the soft, determined face of a human girl. For the next hour, Mia worked in silence. She cleaned the wound with spring water and applied a paste of crushed herbs. Kyle watched her every move. He felt a strange sensation in his chest that had nothing to do with his injury. He was a werewolf, a creature of instinct and violence, yet the touch of this human felt like a balm to his very soul. "Why are you helping me?" Kyle asked, his voice weaker now. Because life is precious, Mia said softly. Even yours. As the sun began to set, the forest changed. The shadows lengthened, and a powerful presence began to move through the trees. Kyle's expression shifted from pain to terror. You must go, Kyle whispered. He is coming. If he finds you here, he will kill you. Who is coming? Mia asked. Alpha Philip, Kyle said. He does not believe in mercy. He believes in the law of the forest. Humans are prey, Mia. Run. Mia gathered her things, her heart racing. She looked at Kyle one last time. I will come back tomorrow to check the wound. Do not move. She disappeared into the trees just as a massive, charcoal-grey wolf stepped into the clearing. The wolf was larger than any horse, with shoulders like granite and eyes that burned with a cold, terrifying intelligence. This was Alpha Philip. He shifted back into his human form in a fluid, haunting motion. He stood naked and unafraid in the cold air, his presence commanding the very earth to go still. Kyle, Philip said, his voice deep and echoing. You smell of something foul. Kyle struggled to sit up, his face pale. I was attacked, Alpha. Philip stepped closer, sniffing the air. His lip curled in a snarl. You smell of a human. A female. Where is she? She is gone, Kyle lied, his voice shaking. She was just a scavenger. I scared her away. Philip narrowed his eyes. He reached down and picked up a small, embroidered handkerchief that Mia had accidentally dropped. He held it to his nose, inhaling the scent of lavender and wild honey. A dark look crossed his face. You lie to your Alpha for a piece of meat? Philip asked quietly. He gripped Kyle's throat, lifting him easily from the ground. The law is clear, Kyle. We do not mix with the weak. We do not let them touch us. If I find her, I will tear her heart out while it is still beating. Philip dropped Kyle and looked toward the village. He could see the faint lights of Oakhaven in the distance. To him, humans were a blight, a noisy and fragile race that threatened the purity of his woods. But the scent on the handkerchief was different. It didn't smell of fear. It smelled of life. The next morning, Mia returned to the clearing. She knew the risks, but she could not stop thinking about the amber-eyed man. When she arrived, Kyle was gone, but someone else was waiting. Standing by the jagged rocks was a tall man in a long, dark coat. He had silver hair at his temples and a face that looked like it had been carved from stone. He was handsome in a way that made Mia's breath catch, but his aura was one of pure, unadulterated danger. You are the healer, the man said. It wasn't a question. I am Mia, she said, standing her ground. Who are you? The man stepped forward, and the air around Mia seemed to thicken. I am the king of this forest. I am the nightmare your parents warned you about. I am Philip. Mia felt a wave of fear, but she didn't move. Then you should thank me. I saved one of your men. Philip laughed, a dry, humorless sound. Saved him? You contaminated him. You gave him hope that he could be something other than a predator. That is a death sentence in my world. He walked in a slow circle around her, like a shark circling its prey. Tell me, Mia, why shouldn't I kill you right now? You have broken the boundary. You have touched the untouchable. Because you are curious, Mia said, her voice trembling but clear. You have never met a human who wasn't afraid of you. And you want to know why I am not. Philip stopped. He leaned in close, his face inches from hers. He could hear her heart galloping, but her eyes remained fixed on his. He reached out and tucked a stray lock of hair behind her ear. His touch was electric, sending a shiver down her spine that wasn't entirely unpleasant. "You are a brave little bird," Philip whispered. "But the forest is full of hawks." At that moment, a woman emerged from the trees. She was beautiful, with sharp features and long, blonde hair. This was Alexa, Philip's promised mate and the highest-ranking female in the pack. Her eyes flashed with jealousy as she looked at Mia. "Philip," Alexa said, her voice dripping with spite. "Why is this animal still breathing? The pack is waiting. We have a hunt to begin." Philip didn't take his eyes off Mia. "The hunt can wait, Alexa. I have found something far more interesting than a deer." Alexa's expression darkened. She looked at Mia with pure hatred. "If you do not kill her, Alpha, the pack will question your strength. You know the law. No humans." Philip straightened his back, his cold gaze returning. "I know the law better than anyone, Alexa. I wrote it." He looked back at Mia. "Go home, healer. If I see you in my woods again, I will not be so merciful. This is your only warning." Mia didn't wait. She turned and ran, the image of Philip's burning eyes etched into her mind. She reached the village and collapsed against her door, her lungs burning. She told herself she would never go back. She told herself the monsters were real and she was lucky to be alive. But that night, as she lay in bed, she heard a soft scratching at her window. She opened it to find Kyle standing in the moonlight. He looked stronger, his wound already healing with supernatural speed. "You shouldn't be here," Mia whispered. "I had to see you," Kyle said. "Philip is obsessed. He hasn't stopped talking about you. But Alexa, she is planning something. She wants you dead to prove a point to the pack. You are in danger, Mia." "Why do you care?" Mia asked. Kyle reached out and touched her hand. "Because when you touched me, I felt something I haven't felt in years. I felt human. Please, stay away from the woods." Before Mia could respond, a howl echoed through the village. It wasn't a howl of a hunt. It was a howl of war. The howl hung in the air like a heavy curtain of ice. It was followed by the sound of heavy paws thudding against the dirt roads of Oakhaven. Kyle's face went pale, his amber eyes wide with panic. He didn't say another word, he simply turned and vanished into the darkness, his body shifting into a blur of fur and muscle before he even hit the tree line. Mia watched him go, her heart hammering against her ribs. She slammed her window shut and locked it, but she knew a simple wooden latch would not stop the creatures of the night. Outside, the village was waking up. Shouts of men and the crying of children filled the air as the realization set in. The peace treaty between the humans and the wolves had been shattered. I hope you are feeling the tension of this moment. I spend my days and nights thinking of ways to bring these characters to life for you. It is a lonely process, and the only reward is knowing you are watching. If you haven't liked the video yet, ask yourself why. Is it so hard to click a button to support someone who gives you so much entertainment? Comment below with your location. I want to see how far my voice travels. And please, tell me your rating from 1 to 10. If you value this story, subscribe now. Don't let my hard work go unnoticed. The center of the village was a scene of chaos. Torches flickered in the wind as the men of Oakhaven gathered with pitchforks and old hunting rifles. At the edge of the clearing, just where the torchlight died, stood the pack. Dozens of wolves, their eyes glowing like hot coals, sat in a semicircle. In the center stood Philip. He was in his human form, wearing only dark trousers, his bare chest scarred and powerful. Beside him stood Alexa, her face twisted in a cruel smile. "Where is the girl?" Philip's voice carried over the wind, low and terrifying. The village elder stepped forward, his hands shaking. "Alpha Philip, we have done nothing to break our pact. We stay out of your woods, and you stay out of our homes." Philip stepped into the light. The villagers recoiled. "One of yours has touched one of mine. The scent of your healer is all over my scout. She has brought a sickness of the heart into my pack. Hand her over, and the rest of you may live through the night." Mia pushed through the crowd before anyone could stop her. She stood in front of the elder, looking directly at the alpha. "I am here. Leave them alone. I only helped a dying man. If that is a crime, then your laws are hollow." Philip looked at her, and for a brief second, the coldness in his eyes flickered. He saw her standing there, small and fragile, yet braver than any warrior in his ranks. But Alexa stepped forward, her voice a sharp blade. "She admits it." Alexa cried out to the pack. "She claims she has power over us. She thinks her mercy makes her our equal. Alpha, if you do not punish her, you are inviting every human to spit on our traditions." The wolves behind her began to growl, a low vibration that shook the ground. Philip felt the pressure of his pack. An alpha was only as strong as the respect he commanded. If he showed weakness now, his leadership would be challenged. He looked at Mia, his jaw tight. "Mia of Oakhaven," Philip said solemnly. "By the law of the forest, you are to be taken. You will live the rest of your days as a servant to the pack, or you will die tonight. Choose." The villagers gasped. Being a servant to the pack was a fate many considered worse than death. It meant living in the wild, being treated as less than an animal, and never seeing the sun from the safety of a home again. "I will go," Mia said, her voice cracking. "Just leave my people in peace." "No," the elder shouted, but Philip was already moving. He grabbed Mia by the arm and pulled her toward the forest. The pack followed, disappearing into the shadows like a receding tide. Mia was taken to the heart of the Blackwood Forest, to a hidden valley where the pack lived in a series of sophisticated stone dwellings and caves. She was thrown into a small, dry cave with a bed of furs and a heavy iron gate. For the first few days, she saw no one but Alexa. Alexa took great pleasure in her new role as Mia's tormentor. She brought Mia meager scraps of food and cold water, always accompanied by a biting remark. "You think he kept you alive because he likes you?" Alexa sneered one morning, tossing a piece of dry bread onto the dirt floor. "He kept you alive to show the pack how easily a human can be broken. Once you are nothing but a hollow shell, he will let me finish you." "Why do you hate me so much?" Mia asked, her voice weak but still defiant. "I have done nothing to you. You exist," Alexa hissed. "You represent everything soft and weak. Philip is a king. He needs a queen of fire and blood, not a girl who cries over a scratched scout." But when Alexa left, someone else came. Every night, when the moon reached its peak, Philip would stand outside the bars of Mia's cell. He didn't speak at first. He would simply watch her. Mia refused to cower. She would sit on her bed of furs and look back at him. One night, the silence finally broke. "Why do you not beg for your life?" Philip asked. Would it change anything? Mia replied. No, Philip said. Then I will save my breath. I have seen the way you look at your pack, Philip. You lead them with fear, but you are the one who is truly afraid. Philip's eyes flashed gold. I fear nothing. You fear the feeling I gave Kyle, Mia said softly, stepping closer to the bars. You fear that if you show even an ounce of kindness, your whole world will crumble. You think being a monster is your only choice. But it is just a mask. Philip reached through the bars, his large hand cupping her jaw. His touch was not violent, it was almost a caress. You are a dangerous creature, Mia. You fight with words instead of claws. It is unsettling. It is called humanity, she whispered. For a long moment, they stayed like that, the alpha and the healer, separated by iron but connected by a strange, forbidden heat. Philip felt a hunger in him that had nothing to do with blood. He wanted to protect her. He wanted to tear down the bars and carry her into the moonlight. But he knew the pack was watching. He knew Alexa was whispering in the ears of the younger males, telling them that their alpha had gone soft. The next day, the tension reached a breaking point. Kyle, who had been avoiding Mia out of shame, finally found a moment when Alexa was away. He crept to the bars, his face bruised. Mia, you have to get out of here, Kyle whispered. Alexa has convinced the council that you are a witch. They are going to demand a trial by combat tomorrow. Philip will be forced to let Alexa fight you. You won't stand a chance. Philip wouldn't let that happen, Mia said, though she felt a knot of dread in her stomach. He might not have a choice, Kyle said. If he denies the council, they will challenge him for the alpha position. He will lose everything to save you. You have to run. Tonight. I will unlock the gate. What about you? Mia asked. They will kill you for helping me. I don't care, Kyle said, his eyes shining with tears. You saved my life. Now let me save yours. That night, as a thick mist rolled into the valley, Kyle slid the bolt back. The iron gate groaned, sounding like a scream in the quiet night. Mia stepped out, her heart racing. Kyle pointed toward a narrow path that led up the cliffs. Go that way. It leads to the high peaks. They won't expect you to go up. They'll think you went back to the village. Hide in the caves until the sun comes up. Mia hugged Kyle briefly and then took off into the fog. She climbed until her fingers bled and her legs felt like lead. She found a small crevice in the rock and tucked herself inside, shivering in the mountain air. But she was not alone. A low, feminine growl echoed off the stone walls. Mia turned to see a massive white wolf emerging from the mist. It was Alexa. She had shifted, her fur bristling, her teeth bared in a murderous grin. She had anticipated Kyle's betrayal. She had been waiting. Alexa shifted back into her human form, standing on the ledge overlooking the forest. I knew the scout would break. He was always weak. Now, there is no one to save you. No alpha. No village. Just you and the mountain. Alexa lunged, her fingers turning into claws. Mia ducked, sliding under the woman's arms. She scrambled for a heavy stone, her survival instincts taking over. Alexa laughed, a sound that was lost in the wind. Die like the animal you are. Alexa screamed. Just as Alexa prepared to leap again, a deafening roar shook the very mountain. A blur of charcoal grey fur hit Alexa midair, throwing her back against the rock face. Philip stood between Mia and the woman who would have been his mate. He was in his wolf form, his hackles raised, a sound coming from his throat that promised absolute destruction. Alexa scrambled to her feet, her eyes wide with shock. Philip. She was escaping. I am defending our laws. Philip shifted, his body trembling with rage. He didn't look at Alexa. He looked at Mia, making sure she was unhurt. Then, he turned his gaze to the woman he had known his whole life. The law says the Alpha decides the punishment, Philip said, his voice a low thunder. I did not order her death. You have defied me for the last time, Alexa. The Pack will never accept this, Alexa shrieked. They will see you for what you are, a traitor to your own blood. Then let them come, Philip said. He stepped toward her, and Alexa, seeing the murder in his eyes, turned and fled into the night, her howls of rage fading into the distance. Philip turned to Mia. He looked tired, the weight of his crown finally showing on his face. He reached out a hand, and this time, Mia took it. I cannot take you back to the village, Philip said. And you cannot stay with the Pack. Not yet. Then where do we go? Mia asked. We go to the heart of the forest, Philip said. Where the old laws still hold power. I will protect you, Mia. Even if I have to burn the world down to do it. The wind howled through the high peaks, carrying the scent of pine and the distant, angry cries of a pack divided. Philip led Mia through a hidden mountain pass, his hand never leaving hers. They moved in a silence that was heavy with unspoken words. The Alpha had abandoned his throne, his history, and his people for a woman who represented everything he was taught to despise. As they descended into a valley hidden from the eyes of both humans and wolves, Mia looked at the man beside her. He was no longer just a monster or a king, he was a soul stripped bare by the weight of his own choices. If you have stayed with me until this final chapter, you understand the depth of this journey. I have woven this tale of sacrifice and courage just for you, hoping to provide a brief escape from the cold reality of the world. To watch this and not subscribe is to take the light and leave the creator in the darkness. Please, like this video and share your final rating from 1 to 10 in the comments. Tell us where you are watching from one last time. Your engagement is the heartbeat of this channel. If you turn away now, you leave this story unfinished in your heart. The valley was a place of ancient magic. Here, the trees were white as bone, and the water in the streams ran clear as glass. This was the sanctuary of the first moon, a place where the ancestors of the Pack were said to have first shifted. It was a neutral ground, sacred and untouched by the violence of the modern world. Philip built a small shelter against the face of a cliff. He hunted for them, bringing back wild fruit and game, while Mia gathered herbs to heal the lingering scratches on his back. For weeks, they lived in a strange, beautiful bubble. They spoke of things they had never told anyone. Philip spoke of the burden of being born a leader and the loneliness of a life defined by blood. Mia spoke of her desire to heal a world that seemed determined to break itself. I never knew peace could feel like this, Philip said one evening, sitting by a small fire. I thought peace was simply the absence of war. But it is this. It is being known, and still being accepted. Mia leaned her head on his shoulder. You were never a monster, Philip. You were just a man who forgot how to be kind. But the peace was not meant to last. One morning, the air turned heavy with the smell of wet fur and iron. Philip stood up, his body tensing, his eyes shifting to amber. They are here, he whispered. From the trees emerged the council of the Blackwood Pack, led by a battered but vengeful Alexa. Behind them were the warriors Philip had trained himself. They looked at their former alpha with a mixture of fear and disappointment. Philip, the eldest council member said, his voice echoing in the quiet valley. You have abandoned your duty. You have brought a human to the sacred grounds. You must be judged. Alexa stepped forward, her eyes gleaming. Kill him, and the girl dies next. Reclaim the honor of the pack. Philip stepped in front of Mia, his voice calm and steady. I will not fight you. I have led you for 10 years. I have bled for you, and I have killed for you. If you believe my love for this woman makes me your enemy, then strike me down. But know this, if you kill me, you are not protecting the law. You are destroying the very heart of what it means to be a pack. The warriors hesitated. They looked at Philip, then at each other. They remembered the times he had saved them from starvation, the times he had stood between them and the hunters. He is weak, Alexa screamed, sensing the shift in the air. She shifted into her white wolf form and lunged at Philip, her jaws snapping. Philip didn't shift. He didn't move. He stood his ground, watching her with pity. Just as Alexa's teeth were about to find his throat, Kyle leapt from the tree line. He collided with Alexa, the two wolves tumbling across the grass in a blur of grey and white. Kyle pinned Alexa to the ground, his growl vibrating through the valley. Enough, Alexa. Your hate has blinded you. Philip is not the traitor. You are. The council watched as Alexa shifted back, sobbing with rage and defeat. The eldest member stepped toward Philip and bowed his head. We cannot follow a leader who hides in the mountains, the elder said. But we will not follow a murderer like Alexa. Philip, the law must change. If you wish to lead, you must lead us into a new era. A world where we do not hide from the humans, but where we coexist. Philip looked at Mia. He saw the hope in her eyes. He reached out and took her hand, lifting it high for the pack to see. Then this is the new law, Philip declared. The Blackwood Pack will no longer be defined by what we kill, but by what we protect. Mia will stay by my side, not as a servant, but as your queen. She will teach us the healing ways, and we will teach her the strength of the forest. The wolves raised their heads and let out a long, melodic howl. It wasn't a cry of war or a hunt. It was a song of unity that carried through the trees and reached the ears of the villagers in Oakhaven. Mia and Philip returned to the border of the forest. They built a home that sat halfway between the village and the pack's dens. It became a place of bridge building, where humans came to be healed and wolves came to learn the stories of the world. Alexa was exiled, forced to wander the northern wastes alone, a victim of her own bitterness. Kyle became the new commander of the guard, ensuring that the peace was never broken again. As the years passed, the story of the wolf's mercy became a legend. It was told to children in their beds to teach them that fear is a choice, and love is a power that can tame even the fiercest beast. The true measure of strength is not found in the ability to destroy, but in the courage to show mercy. We often build walls of tradition and law to protect ourselves, but those same walls can become our prisons. It is only when we have the bravery to reach across the divide and see the humanity in our enemies that we can truly find peace. Love does not make you weak, it gives you a reason to be strong.